It isn't the coffee, Steve. There's nothing the matter with the coffee. There's something the matter with you.
There may be something the matter with my stomach.
Your stomach? The trouble is not with your stomach, but in your subconscious mind. You never used to be so disagreeable. You've certainly got some sort of a complex. You're all inhibited, no longer open to new ideas. You won't listen to a word about psychoanalysis.
A word? I've listened to volumes.
You've lost your creativity. Your architecture work isn't going well. You're not sleeping well.
How can I sleep when you're always waking me up to find out what I'm dreaming?
But dreams are so important, Steve. If you tell yours to Dr. Russell, he'd find out exactly what's wrong with you.
There's nothing wrong with me.
You don't even talk as well as you used to.
Talk? I can't say a thing without you looking at me in that way you have when you're on the trail of a complex.
This very irritability indicates that you're suffering from some suppressed desire.
I'm suffering from a suppressed desire for a little peace.
Dr. Russell is doing wonderful things with nervous cases. Won't you go to him?
No, I won't.
But Stephen...
I hear your sister coming. Let's not be at each other's throats the first day of her visit.
Good morning.
Oh, here you are.
Good morning, Maggie.
It's so good to have you here. I was going to let you sleep thinking you'd be tired after your long trip. There'll be fresh toast in a minute. Will you have...
Oh, I ought to have told you, Hannah. Don't get anything for me. I'm not eating breakfast.
Not eating breakfast?
The psychoanalytical look.
Maggie, why are you not eating breakfast?
Why, no particular reason. I just don't care much for breakfast. And they say it's a good thing to go without it.
Don't you sleep well? Did you sleep well last night?
Oh, yes, I slept all right. Yes, I slept fine last night, only I did have the funniest dream.
And what did you dream, Maggie?
Maggie, I feel it's my duty to advise you. Don't tell Hannah your dreams. If you do, she'll find out that you have an unconscious desire to kill your father and marry your mother.
Don't be absurd, Stephen Brewster. What was your dream, dear?
Oh, well, I dreamed I was a hen.
A hen?
Yes, and I was pushing along through a crowd as fast as I could, but being a hen, I couldn't walk very fast. It was like having a tight skirt, and there was some sort of creature in a blue cap. You know how mixed up dreams are. And it just kept shouting after me, step hen, until I got all excited and I just couldn't move at all.
You became much excited.
Oh, yes, I was in a terrible state.
This is significant.
She dreams she's a hen. She is told to step lively. She becomes violently agitated. What could it mean?
Maggie, do you know anything about psychoanalysis?
Not much. Oh, it's something they use in the war, isn't it?
Not that kind of war.
I thought it might be some kind of torture.
It is.
I'm sorry. Bob and I don't live in touch with intellectual things as you do. Bob being a dentist, most of our friends are there.
To be a dentist.
Aren't you still friends with that editorial writer? What was his name?
Larry Eggleston?
Yes, Eggleston. He seemed to be in touch with things. Don't you see him?
Yeah, I see him once in a while. Bob doesn't like him very much.
Your husband does not like Larry Eggleston. Maggie, are you perfectly happy with your husband?
Oh, come now, Hannah. That's going a little too far.
Are you perfectly happy with him, Maggie?
Why, yes, I guess so. Why, of course I am.
Are you happy? Or do you only think you are? Or do you only think you ought to be?
Why, Hannah, I don't know what you mean.
This is what she means, Maggie. Psychoanalysis. My work table groans with it. Books by Freud, books by Jung, the Psychoanalytical Review, dozens of back issues.
But what's it all about?
all about your non-conscious mind and desires you don't know anything about. They may be doing you a great deal of harm. You may be going crazy with them. Oh yes, people are doing it right and left. You dreamed you were a hen.
Any fool can ridicule anything.
But what do you say it is, Hannah?
Oh, don't get Hannah started on that.
It's like this, Maggie. You want something. You think you can't have it. You think it's wrong. So you try to think you don't want it. Your mind protects you, avoids pain by refusing to think the forbidden thing. But it's there, just the same. And it stays there, shut up in your unconscious mind. And it festers.
Sort of an ingrown mental toenail.
Precisely. The forbidden impulse is there, full of energy, which has simply got to do something. It breaks into your consciousness in disguise, masks itself in dreams, makes all sorts of trouble. In extreme cases, it drives you insane.
Oh.
But psychoanalysis has found out how to save us from it. It brings into consciousness the suppressed desire that was making all the trouble. Psychoanalysis is simply the latest scientific method of preventing and curing insanity.
It is also the latest scientific method of separating families.
Families that ought to be separated.
The Dwights, for instance. You must have met them, Maggie, when you were here before Helen was living, apparently, in peace and happiness with good old Joe. Well, she went to this psychoanalyzer. She was psyched. And biff, bang, home she comes with an unsuppressed desire to leave her husband.
Oh, how terrible. Yes, I remember Helen Dwight, but did she have such a desire?
First she'd known of it.
And she left him?
Yes, she did.
Wasn't he kind to her?
Well, yes, good enough.
And she left her good, kind husband.
Maggie left her good, kind husband. How naive. Forgive me, dear, but how bourgeois are you? She came to know herself, and she had courage.
I may be very naive and bourgeois, but I don't see the good of a science that breaks up homes.
In enlightening Maggie, we mustn't neglect to mention the case of Art Holden's private secretary, Mary Snow, who has just been informed of her suppressed desire for her employer.
Why? I think it's terrible, Hannah. It would be better if we didn't know such things about ourselves.
No, Maggie, that is the old way.
But her employer, is he married?
Wife and 4 children.
Oh, well, then what good does it do the girl to be told she has a desire for him? There's nothing that can be done about it.
Old institutions will have to be reshaped so that something can be done in such cases. It happens, Maggie, that this suppressed desire was on the point of landing Mary Snow in the insane asylum. Are you so tight-minded that you'd rather have her in the insane asylum than break the conventions?
But have people always had these awful suppressed desires?
Always.
But they've just been discovered.
The harm they do has just been discovered. And free, sane people must face the fact that they have to be dealt with.
I don't think they have them in Chicago.
People have them wherever the living libido, the center of the soul's energy, is in conflict with petrified moral codes. That means everywhere in civilization. Psychoanalysis.
Good God, I got the roof in the cellar.
The roof in the cellar?
That's what psychoanalysis does.
That's what psychoanalysis could undo. Is it any wonder I'm concerned about Steve? He dreamed the other night that the walls of his room melted away, and he found himself alone in a forest. Don't you see how significant it is for an architect to have walls slip away from him? It symbolizes his loss of grip in his work. There's some suppressed desire.
Suppressed hell.
You speak more truly than you know. It is through suppressions that hells are formed in us.
Don't you think it would be a good thing, Hannah, if we went somewhere else? Oh, I'm sorry, Hannah. Don't take it so to heart, Hannah. I'll get you another. I said I'll get you another cup, Hannah.
It's not the cup.
For heaven's sake, what is it then?
It's the significant little false movement that made you drop it.
Well, I suppose everyone makes a false movement once in a while.
Yes, Maggie. But these false movements all mean something.
I just don't think that's very nice. I was just because I happened to think of that Maggie Snow you were talking about.
Maggie Snow?
Snow, what was her name then?
Her name is Mary. You substituted your own name for hers.
Well, Mary Snow then. Mary Snow. I only heard the name this once. I don't see anything to make such a fuss about.
Maggie, dear, mistakes like that in names?
Oh, they don't mean something too, do they?
I'm sorry, dear, but they do.
But I'm always doing that.
My poor little sister. Well, tell me about it.
About what?
About you not being happy. About your longing for another sort of life.
But I don't.
I understand these things, dear. You feel Bob is limiting you to a life in which you do not feel free.
Hannah, when did I ever say such a thing?
You said you are not in touch with intellectual things. You expressed that Bob's profession has engendered a resentment, which has colored your whole life with him.
Why, Hannah?
Don't be afraid. There's nothing that can shock me or turn me from you. I am not like that. I wanted you to come for this visit because I had a feeling that you needed more from life than you were getting. No one of these individual things I've seen would excite my suspicion. It's the combination. You don't eat breakfast. You make false moves. You substitute your own name for the name of another, whose love is misdirected. You're nervous. There's a frightened look in your eyes that is most unlike you. And this dream, a hen? Come with me this afternoon to Dr. Russell. Your whole life may be at stake, Maggie.
Hannah, you were always the smartest in the family and all that, but this is terrible. I don't think we ought to think about such things. Why, I'll tell you why I dreamed I was a hen. It was because last night when we were talking about that time in Chicago, you said I was mad as a wet hen.
Did you dream you were a wet hen?
No.
No. You dreamed you were a dry hen. And why, being a hen, were you urged to step?
Maybe it's because when I'm getting on a streetcar, it always irritates me to have them call "Step lively."
No, Maggie. That is only a child's view of it. If you will forgive me, you see merely the elements used in the dream. You do not see into the dream. You do not see its meaning. This dream of the hen.
Hen, wet hen, dry hen, mad hen. Let me out of this.
Just give us a minute here, and we'll leave you to do your work in quiet. Maggie and I are going to sit in my room.
I'm going to be psychoanalyzed. I'm going now. I'm going straight to that infallible doctor of hers, that priest of this new religion. If he's got honesty enough to tell me, Hannah, there's nothing wrong with the matter of the unconscious mind, perhaps I can be let alone about it, and then I will be all right. Don't tell Hannah I'm going. It might take weeks, and I couldn't stand all the talk.
Where's Steve? Gone? You see how impatient he is? How unlike himself. I tell you, Maggie, I'm nearly distracted about Steve.
I think he's a little distracted too.
Well, if he's gone, you might as well stay here. I have a committee meeting at the bookshop, and we'll have to leave you to yourself for an hour or two. In here, dear. is one of the simplest statements of psychoanalysis. You just read the first chapter and then we can talk more intelligently. How old is Larry Eggleston?
He isn't 40 yet. What made you ask that, Hannah?
Oh, nothing. Au revoir.
The cup? The book? Am I unhappy?
What are you doing, my dear?
My paper for the Liberal Club.
Your paper on
a subject which does not have your sympathy.
Oh, I'm not sure I'm wholly out of sympathy with psychoanalysis, Hannah. You worked it so hard, I couldn't even take a bath without it meaning something.
I talked it because I knew you needed it.
You haven't said much about it in the last 2 weeks. Your faith in it hasn't weakened any.
Weakened? It's grown stronger with each new thing I've come to know. And Maggie? She's with Dr. Russell now. Dr. Russell is wonderful. From what Maggie tells me, I believe his analysis is going to prove that I was right. Today, I discovered a remarkable confirmation of my theory in the hen dream.
What is your theory?
Well, you know about Larry Eggleston? I've wondered about him. I've never seen him, but I know he's less bourgeois than Maggie's other friends, more intellectual, and she doesn't see much of him because Bob doesn't like him.
But what's the confirmation?
Today, I noticed the first syllable of his name.
La?
No, egg.
Egg?
Maggie dreamed she was a hen. You wouldn't laugh if you knew how important names are in interpreting dreams. Freud is full of just such cases in which a whole hidden complex is revealed by a single significant syllable, like this egg.
Doesn't the traditional relation of hen and egg suggest rather a maternal feeling?
There is something maternal in Maggie's love, of course, but that's only one element.
Well, suppose Maggie hasn't a suppressed desire to be this gentleman's mother, but his beloved. What's to be done about it? What about Bob? Don't you think it's going to be a little rough on him?
That can't be helped. Bob, like everyone else, must face the facts of life. If Dr. Russell should arrive independently at this same interpretation, I shall not hesitate to advise Maggie to leave her present husband.
Uh-huh. How long is it we've lived here, Hannah?
Why, this is the 3rd year, Steve.
One would miss this view if one went away, wouldn't one?
How strangely you speak. Stephen, I wish you'd go to Dr. Russell. Don't think my fears have abated because I've been able to restrain myself. I had to go on account of Maggie, but now, dear, won't you go?
How long have we been married, Hannah?
Stephen, I don't understand you. You must go to Dr. Russell.
I have gone.
You what?
Yes, Hannah, I've been psyched.
You went to Dr. Russell?
The same.
And what did he say?
He said, I was a little surprised by what he said, Hannah.
Of course. One can so seldom anticipate. But tell me your dream, Stephen. It means
I was considerably surprised by what it means.
Don't be so exasperating.
It means, you really want to know, Hannah?
Stephen, you'll drive me mad.
He said, of course, he may be wrong in what he said.
He isn't wrong. Tell me.
He said, my dream of the walls receding and leaving me alone in a forest indicates a suppressed desire.
Yes.
To be freed from.
Yes, freed from.
Marriage.
Marriage.
He He may be mistaken, you know?
May be mistaken.
Well, of course, I don't take any stock in it myself. It was only your great confidence.
Stephen, are you telling me that Dr. Russell, Dr. A.E. Russell, told you this? Told you that you have a suppressed desire to separate from me?
That's what he said.
Did he know who you were?
Yes.
That you were married to me?
Yes, he knew that.
And he told you to leave me?
It seems he must be wrong, Hannah.
And I've sent him more patience. What reason did he give for this analysis?
He says the confining walls are a symbol of my feeling about marriage and that their fading away is a wish fulfillment.
Well, is it? Do you want our marriage to end?
It was a great surprise to me that I did. You see, I hadn't known what was in my unconscious mind.
What did you tell Dr. Russell about me to make him think that you weren't happy?
I never told him a thing, Hannah. He got it all from his confounded clever inferences. I tried to refute them, but he said that was only part of my self-protective lying.
And that's why you were so happy when you came in just now?
Why, Hannah, how can you say such a thing? I was sad. Didn't I speak sadly of the view? Didn't I ask you how long we'd been married?
Stephen Brewster, have you no sense of the seriousness of this? Dr. Russell doesn't know what our marriage has been. You do. You should have laughed him down. Confined in life with me? Did you tell him that I believe in freedom?
I very emphatically told him that his results were a great surprise to me.
But you accepted them.
Oh, not at all. I merely couldn't refute his arguments. I'm not a psychologist. I came home to talk it over with you, you being a disciple of psychoanalysis.
If you are going, I wish you would go tonight.
Oh, surely I couldn't do that. Think of my feelings and my laundry. It's not back from the cleaners.
I ask you to go tonight. Some women would falter at this, Steve, but I am not such a woman. I leave you free. I do not repudiate psychoanalysis. I say again that it has done great things. It has also made mistakes, of course. But since you accept this analysis, I have to finish this paper. I wish you would leave me.
I'm sorry, Hannah, about my unconscious mind.
Hannah, I'm so glad you're here. And alone? Or are you alone, Hannah?
Very much so.
Hannah, he's found it.
Who has found what?
Who has found what? Dr. Russell has found my suppressed desire.
That is interesting.
He finished with me today. He got hold of my complex in the most amazing way. Oh, but Hannah, it's so terrible.
Do calm yourself, Maggie. Surely there's no occasion for all this agitation.
But there is. Oh, when you think of all the lives that are affected, the readjustments that must be made in order to bring the suppressed hell out of me and save me from the insane asylum.
The insane asylum?
You said that's where these complexes brought people.
What did the doctor tell you, Maggie?
No, I don't know how I can tell you. It's awful, and so unbelievable.
I'd rather have my hand in at hearing the unbelievable.
Oh, Hannah, who would have thought it? How can it be true? But the doctor is perfectly certain that I have a suppressed desire for...
Oh, go on, Maggie. I'm not unprepared for what you have to say.
Not unprepared? You mean you've suspected it?
From the first. It's been my theory all along.
But Hannah, I didn't know myself that I had a secret desire for Stephen.
Stephen?
My brother-in-law, My own sister's husband.
You have a suppressed desire for Stephen.
Oh, Hannah, aren't these unconscious selves terrible? They seem so unlike us.
What insane thing are you driving at?
Hannah, don't you use that word with me. I don't want to go to the insane asylum.
What did Dr. Russell say?
Well, you see, it's the strangest thing. But the voice in my dream that called Step Hen, Dr. Russell found out today that when I was a little girl, I had a storybook of words of one syllable, and I read the name Stephen wrong. I used to read it S-T-E-P, step, H-E-N, hen. Step Hen is Stephen. Stephen is Step Hen.
Stephen is Step Hen? Step Hen?
S-T-E-P, step, H-E-N, hen. Stephen.
What if Stephen is Step Hen? Step Hen, Step Hen. For that ridiculous coincidence.
Coincidence, but it's childish to look at the mere elements of a dream. You have to look into it. You have to see what it means.
On account of that trivial, meaningless play on syllables, on that flimsy basis, you were ready. Oh.
What on earth's the matter? What has happened? Suppose I am Step Hen. What about it? What does it mean?
It means that I have a suppressed desire for you.
For me? The deuce you have. What makes you think so?
Dr. Russell has worked it out scientifically.
Yes, through the amazing discovery that Step Hen equals Stephen.
Oh, that isn't all. That isn't near all. Hannah won't give me a chance to tell it. She'd rather I'd go to the insane asylum than be unconventional.
We'll all go there if you can't control yourself. We are all still waiting for some rational rapport.
No, but there's such a lot about names. I don't see how I ever did it. It all works in together. I dreamed I was a hen because that's close to the first syllable of Hannah's name, Hannah. And when I dreamed I was a hen, I was putting myself in Hannah's place.
With Stephen.
With Stephen. But there's more about the names.
Maggie, have you thought about Bob? Dear old Bob, your good, kind husband.
Oh, Hannah, my good, kind husband.
Think of him, Maggie, out there alone in Chicago, working his head off, fixing people's teeth for you.
Yes, but think of the living libido in conflict with petrified moral codes. And think of the perfectly wonderful way the names all prove it. Dr. Russell said he's never seen anything more convincing. Just look at Stephen's last name, Brewster. I dream I'm a hen, and then the name Brewster, you have to say the first letter by itself. And then the hen, that's me. The hen says to him, Stephen, be Rooster. I think it's perfectly wonderful. Why, if it wasn't for psychoanalysis, you'd never find out how wonderful your own mind is.
Be Rooster. Stephen B. Rooster.
Do you think it's funny? Do you?
Well, what's to be done about it? Does Maggie have to go away with me?
Do you want Maggie to go away with you?
Well, but Maggie herself, her complex, her suppressed desire.
Maggie, are you going to insist on going away with Stephen?
I'd rather go with Stephen than go to the insane asylum.
For heaven's sake, Maggie, drop that insane asylum. If you did have a suppressed desire for Stephen hidden away in you, God knows it isn't hidden now. Dr. Russell has brought it into your consciousness with a vengeance. That's all that's necessary to break up a complex. Psychoanalysis doesn't say you have to gratify every suppressed desire.
Unless it's for Larry Eggleston.
Well, if it comes to that, Stephen Brewster, I'd like to know why that interpretation of mine isn't as good as this one. Step Hen.
be Rooster. Step hen, be Rooster. And Hannah. Ha! Doc Russell's got you beat by a mile. Be Rooster.
What has Larry Eggleston got to do with it?
According to Hannah, you, the hen, have a suppressed desire for egg, stun the egg.
Hannah, I think that's indecent of you. He is as bald as an egg and a little fat. But the idea of you thinking such a thing of me.
Well, Bob isn't little and bald and fat. Why don't you stick to your own husband? What if Dr. Russell's interpretation has got mine beat a mile? It would only mean that Maggie doesn't want Eggleston and does want you. Does that mean she has to have you?
But you said Maggie Snow.
My Snow! You're not as much like her as you think, substituting your name for hers. The cases are entirely different. Oh, I wouldn't have believed this of you, Maggie. I brought you here for a pleasant visit. Thought you needed brightening up. Wanted to be nice to you. And now you, my husband, you insist.
Careful, dear, your paper on psychoanalysis.
I don't want my paper on psychoanalysis. I'm sick of psychoanalysis.
Do you mean that, Hannah?
Why shouldn't I mean it? Look at all I've done for psychoanalysis, and what has psychoanalysis done for me?
Do you mean, Hannah, that you're going to stop talking psychoanalysis?
Why shouldn't I stop talking it? Haven't I seen what it does to people? Maggie has gone crazy about psychoanalysis.
Do you swear never to wake me up in the night to find out what I'm dreaming?
Dream what you please. I don't care what you're dreaming.
Will you clear off my work table so the Journal of Morbid Psychology doesn't stare me in the face when I'm trying to plan a house?
I'll burn the Journal of Morbid Psychology.
My dear Hannah, if you're going to separate from psychoanalysis, there's no reason why I should separate from you.
But what about me? What am I to do with my suppressed desire?
Maggie, you just keep right on suppressing it.